Welcome to episode 613 of the TerryWilson3.com podcast. Today's episode is all about one of the most powerful tools every business owner has at their disposal, their story. In this episode titled Stories, 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 Tell Your Story, we're diving deep into the art of storytelling and how sharing your personal and business journey can transform your brand, set you apart from the competition, and build lasting emotional connections with your customers. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, this episode will inspire you to leverage the power of your own story to grow your business, captivate your audience, and turn customers into loyal advocates. So sit back, relax, and get ready to uncover the secrets of how storytelling can take your brand to the next level.
Listening to TerryWilson3.com.
TerryWilson3.com.
Inspiring, informative, and entertaining content for the entrepreneur and small business owner. Here's your host, Terry Wilson.
Well, what's going on, guys? Today I want to talk to you about the power of story, and specifically your story. I think so many times we as business owners, we get involved with our products, goods, and services, and it becomes so routine and becomes so day-to-day, this is what we do. We lose the narrative sometimes. We lose the gusto, the emotional why we started this, why we do what we do, why we're so passionate about our products, goods, and services. And it doesn't matter what you do, you should be able to have a why. And that why should just be shining through in everything you do, whether it's a restaurant and serving food, whether it's a service where you're cutting grass, killing bugs. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Whatever it is you do, there is a greater overarching narrative of why I do this. I want to serve my community. I want to serve my people. I want to make your life better. You have problems. My product fixes those problems. And here it is. And it's a pleasure to do that. So when you constantly are using story to advance your brand, advance your products, goods, and services, you are infusing that service, that mechanical thing you do, with an emotional component to it that people can actually engage with. Oh, I get that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so I sell websites, marketing, and coaching for a living. But the way I do it is through a story. I've got a comeback story. I've got a story how life just put me flat on my back, and I came back, and the way I was able to come back was using certain products, goods, and services that I now offer other people. This is how I did it, and I can do it for you as well. So, but it all starts with that story that, takes off right from the beginning, where Larry Reichert comes into McDonald's in Spindle, North Carolina back in the late 80s, early 90s and said, "Hey, boy, do you know you are worth more?" That those 4 words, wrote a book, started a business, has yearly conferences, is mentioned on this podcast multiple times, and is the why behind everything we do. Because no matter where you're at, no matter what you do, whether you're just starting a business, where you have your business, no matter where you're at, my admonition to you is you are worth more. You're worth more than where you're at right now. You can do more. You can dream higher, go bigger, go further, go faster. Don't ever settle. Don't ever let anybody, including yourself, tell you that you can't do more, have more, experience more, and enjoy more. You can. And the only obstacle in all of our ways is, the only obstacle I've ever found that's ever been in my way is me. And so to the extent that I can get out of my own way is to the level in which I can experience greater and greater things. So here are 10 reasons and 10 ways, but 10 reasons specifically that I want to really encourage you, use story. If you use a story, use your story. Now, first and foremost, like I said, it connects emotionally. It makes what you do relatable to your potential client, your customer. It also helps you build trust with those folks. Because one of the things I hear from my customers and clients and people in our business all the time is they're so sick and tired of seeing these gurus walk out of a jet airplane and drive around in the Rolls Royces and flash all of this success, wealth, and everything. And as you know, and probably should suspect, 99% of all that stuff is just, as we say in the South, hogwash. It's just not true. It's just trying to look, that's one of the problems with social media and in the world we live in is you can gloss over, you can fix a graphic, you can put yourself in front of any scene that you want, looking as successful as you want. But here's what you can't fake. What you can't fake is, hey, I did this, it didn't work out. Man, it was so painful. This is the things I was going through during that time. These was the thought processes that started to encroach my mind and caused me to start doubting self-doubt, doubting my faith, doubting everything. But then a glimmer of hope happened, and I started one step at a time doing this, and things turned around for me, and now I'm able to do this. And by the way, here's 5 other people I've worked with over the last several years that I've been able to do the same several months, years, whatever you've got. You can't fake that because there's real people. There's real situations. It's verifiably. You can't fake that. That connects with people. And people connect with people that are real. And the reality of life is sometimes things don't work out. And so no matter what you sell, no matter what you offer, put that story in there and let them know how you overcame, how you have weathered the storms, how you're enjoying life now, wherever you're at. Put your story in there because it's going to connect emotionally. Number 2, and this is a big one. This is huge. This is what separates the men from the boys, as they will, the wheat from the chaff. It differentiates you from your competition. It gives you a unique identity. It really does. And but one of the 2 ways it differentiates you. And number 1, it does give you that unique identity. But number 2, it makes you memorable. Because there is a utility for emotions, and people don't understand this from a deep psychological level. And you as a business owner need to understand the psychology behind this and why you want to connect with people emotionally. The psychological utility for emotions is not necessarily just something for you to feel and enjoy, or something for you to feel and not like, so you run away. Those are all perfectly great aspects to it as well. But more importantly, for business purposes, it locks in a memory. Emotions lock in a memory. That's why I tease guys all the time. This is why you'll never win a fight with your wife, because that situation that you guys are arguing about, she has an emotional attachment to it where you were checked out and it didn't even register with you. And so because there's an emotional attachment, the smell of the room, the temperature of the air, what was on the radio, what things taste like, all of those senses are locked in with that emotion. And it is locked in the mind. And they can, when you have that emotional connection with a particular memory, you remember everything about it. That's why, to this day, I don't care who you are. Most people can listen to a song that comes on a radio and it takes them right back to a certain place in time. First time they heard that. Maybe they're high school sweethearts or college, and you went on a date, or you was at your prom and this is what they played, or your team won and they played this as a celebration. Whatever it is, music and various things, different smells. I know when I taste certain foods, it brings me back to a certain time. When I hear certain things, when I smell certain things. Why is that? Because memories are attached to emotions. And the more you can make your brand emotional with a story, the more you have got it locked in with your client. Number 3, it builds brand loyalty. Loyalty through, see, when I tell my story, what I'm really doing is sharing my value. I'm sharing what I find important. I'm sharing what my priorities are. I'm sharing what my worldview is. I'm sharing, the way I feel about certain things. And for some people, that's going to aggravate, irritate, and repel them. And for other people, it's like a magnet that you can't separate me from my client. This is why, like him or hate him, I don't want to get political, but this is the reason why that, for instance, our, 45th president, Donald J. Trump, has a strong following. He's got super fans. He has got, because he's been in business a while, he knows story, he knows the power of building brand. I mean, he's a branding genius. Well, one of the things he's got that's outside of just a handful of other people that have tried the political thing. He's got, you can look. I'm a Bush fan, George Bush, both Bushes, but they don't have brand loyalty. They, Reagan has brand loyalty, Obama has brand loyalty, Trump has brand loyalty, but that's the exception, not the rule. I doubt people, would go buy a T-shirt that said Jimmy Carter on it, or even Nixon, or even Ford, or even any of these other folks. I doubt people are super fans of Joe Biden, even if they voted for him. But when you can infuse a story and build a brand and show your values, you're going to have people that instantly reject you, and you're going to have people that instantly are. But when I tell my values through my story, and I'm constantly reinforcing, this is how I think. Now, I might change the decision as information changes, but me because you know my value system, it is going to build that brand loyalty. And there's an emotional bond to it that can't be broken. Number 4, when you tell your story, it gives purpose and meaning to the brand.
Meet Jim. When Jim first opened his small lawn care business in Akron, Ohio, he was excited but quickly faced a tough reality. His business was new and virtually unknown, and despite all the hard work he put into his services, he struggled to get inquiries. People couldn't find his location, and his online presence was practically non-existent. Jim knew he offered a great service, but without a steady stream of customers, he couldn't sustain the business for long. Jim's biggest frustration was that he had an excellent lawn care service, but no one was finding him. He tried posting on social media, handing out flyers, and even running a few ads, but the calls just weren't coming in. His website wasn't attracting traffic, and when potential customers searched for lawn care in Akron, Jim's business was nowhere to be found. The lack of inquiries was disheartening, and Jim was beginning to worry about the future of his company. Then Jim discovered TW3. After a free consultation, he decided to join their platform and implement their integrated business solutions. In just a few months, the transformation was remarkable. With TW3's AI-powered system, Jim was able to ramp up his capacity far beyond what he originally thought possible. Calls began to flood in, so much so that he could no longer handle all the inquiries himself. TW3's AI system took over, booking appointments, answering calls, and even sending out billing automatically. Jim's workload was lightened, and he could focus on delivering the best service possible while the TW3 system handled the administrative tasks. With his newfound ability to manage inquiries efficiently, he no longer worried about missing calls or double booking appointments. His business was thriving, and his reputation began to grow. The real game changer for Jim wasn't just the increase in inquiries, it was how TW3 consolidated everything he needed into one seamless platform. Before TW3, Jim was juggling over 20 different services and software tools, each with its own monthly bill. Between scheduling apps, customer management software, billing systems, and marketing tools, the costs were adding up, and nothing worked well together. With TW3, Jim was able to cancel all those services and run everything through one integrated system, saving him over 80% of what he had been paying before. Even better, TW3 provided training and support to help him get the most out of the system. No more patching things together. Everything was streamlined and built to work as one cohesive unit. Jim's story is just one of many, and you can read more about it in the About section at Terry Wilson 3. If you're a business owner facing similar challenges, Jim's success can be your story too. To see how TW3 can help you grow your business, go to terrywilson3.com now and book a free one-on-one coaching call today. Just like Jim, you could soon be enjoying a thriving business, streamlined systems, and more inquiries than you can handle, all with the support and technology of TW3.
Hey, Terry, just wanted to tell you how much I really appreciate all you've done for us.
Purpose-driven connections. A brand story often encapsulates the why behind the business, giving customers a deep understanding of its purpose and mission. Why can inspire greater support and advocacy. That's when you tell a story, when you share those values, you're actually giving purpose and meaning behind why it is you do what you do. It gives clarity of vision. A well-told story provides clarity on what the brand stands for, which strengthens the message and purpose behind every interaction. Number 5, it enhances customer engagement. When you have a narrative, a story naturally engages people more than a traditional marketing content. A brand story invites customers into a narrative, keeping them interested and engaged longer. It also has an interactive component to it. Stories encourages customers to share their own experiences, creating dialogue and building a community around. The way we were able to build, a mastermind and conferences and stuff is around the story that I tell about my first encounters with working for a living as a high school student, wanting to earn a little money to buy a car, working a traditional starter job like most people do in a fast food restaurant, to discovering this thing of direct sales and commission-based production-based work that I'd never been exposed to heretofore at that time in my life. I just did not have that context, and coming encounter with that, and it opening up a world that I could make as much as I want if I was just willing to work as hard as I wanted. And then that opened up to this whole thing about staying self-motivated and self-worth, to opening up to accepting the responsibilities and the downfalls and the downturns and the risk involved and working for yourself, to making that, all of that. People that's been on any side of owning a business, working for themselves, working in commission-based stuff, they're going to instantly relate to it, and it just enhances the opportunity for people to interact and tell their story and share their story. And that's what it's done for me, and it's what it will do for you. It adds depth and dimension to the brand, beyond just the products. So, this is what I tease all the time. When we started back in 2008, we were selling WordPress websites with a couple form creators. That was it. And now we have AI systems. Some very sophisticated marketing systems and services, from SEO to AI generated voice, to where, you can have someone answering your phone and responding to your clients for you. All of that, very sophisticated services and software we offer now that started back in 2008 with just a WordPress website and opt-in forms. So my point is this: my brand is not built on my tools, because my tools have changed historically, because I'm in a technology space. I change every year typically, or what I have gets enhanced tremendously because of just the nature of the space I occupy. But the point is this: when you build your business around your brand, and your brand is infused with your story, you could be in the Chinese restaurant business one day and flip right over to the Mexican restaurant the next day, and it's not going to matter, because it's not about necessarily the product, is your brand and your business and the trust that they have with that brand. It just, there's so much depth that you have that it affords you to, and allows you to make, and that was an exaggeration of a hard pivot, but you literally could go from one style of restaurant, one style of business to it. You could go from Ford to Chevy, because it doesn't matter. It's not about the product. It's about the brand that you are bringing. What does your logo mean? What does doing business with you mean? And your story just infuses that. And then you sell swagger off of that story. There's so many things that you can do. So it takes you beyond the product, and it gives a human touch. That's what building your story and infusing your brand with a story does. Number 5, it drives word of mouth marketing. It drives word of mouth marketing. It gives you basically what's called shareable content. When you have a compelling story, more likely to be shared, whether through word of mouth, social media, press coverage, extending the brand's reach organically. There was a story in my book that I automated and put out online the other day, to the extent it just so happened to coincide with the same time I wasn't planning on this. We had a family emergency that brought my mother, a family event that brought my mother home for the weekend. And I had just released this story that was in my book in chapter 9. And it's so ridiculous and it's so over the top that my kids accused me of embellishing something just to be funny, you know, and creating a dad joke or something, creating dad humor. And it just so happened my mother heard this conversation and saw the story, and she said, no, that really happened. And then my wife, who was dating me at the time in high school, said, I remember him calling me and saying this. So the point is this, it's the story is so funny, and you have these same experiences. If you've lived on earth, you've had experiences where you just see something, you can't believe what you're seeing. It's over the top and crazy. And if you really start thinking about it, and this is the way I think, what just happened that gives a lesson, and gives a lesson that I can share in the context of my business. And that's what I did. And out of what brought my attention to even thinking about sharing this story was Rose over at Anytime Fitness invited me to share about my book at her book club. They took my book as the book of that month that they were going to read and talk about. And she actually had me come in and share with the people in her club, in her book club, about the book. And every one of them just about was asking about chapter 9 in that story, because it is just so funny and so crazy. But it leaves a really poignant, to me, point in the fact that the title of the book is Everybody Gets Stuck from Time to Time. And this was a ridiculous reason why this person was stuck and could not move forward in what he was trying and attempting to do. It's very ridiculous why he couldn't accomplish his goals. But at the end of the day, he was the problem. Just like you and I are our own problem sometimes, because we get stuck. And so the story illustrates why he was stuck. And, you know, you don't have to ask yourself why. It was obvious why this guy wasn't accomplishing his goals, but, you know, and that ridiculous, but that got shared so much. And that is a lot of times when I was at conferences, what I'd be asked about. And that sold books, and it sold products, goods, and services for me. And it brought people into our mastermind, and they joined our business and all kinds of things. And it all started with a story. It all started with some humorous story that happened back when I was a kid in high school. But that's the power of story. And it just and it gets shared, and I was in front of people I would never have been in front of before, because this person here bought my book, loved it, had that story, and had that experience through the story, brought me in and put me in front of a group of whole other people because of a story, and it's being shared. And through that, not everybody buys my book or hears me speak is going to become a client. Matter of fact, statistically speaking, 97% of them won't. But that's okay. I only need 3%. And that's what happens. And that's why I encourage all my clients, and I encourage you, tell your story. Tell your story. It's going, people, I sell websites. Let's just put it there. There's one product I sell. Now, there's people out there saying, hey, if you need a website, go see Terry. But there's more people out there that said, let me tell you about a story I read in this book. It's crazy. What's I got to do? And then more about it. And then now all of a sudden I'm in front of more people than I would have been otherwise. More opportunities. If I'm just selling websites, for instance, I would have sold a website, or I would have sold some marketing or SEO or coaching or customer service, whatever that they would need that we offer. That would have put me in that position. Number 8, it establishes brand consistency. Consistent messaging. A strong brand story provides a foundation for consistent messaging across all platforms, creating a coherent and unified brand image. So when you tell your story, when you're reinforcing your branding through that story, no matter if you're on TikTok or if you're in a long format like I'm talking to you right now in this podcast, or it's a Facebook post or Instagram post, no matter what it is, it's all coming back to you as a business owner, or you as someone that's thinking about getting a business. You are worth more. You can do more. You can have more. You can enjoy more. You can experience more. And I can help you get there if you give me the opportunity. How do you do that? Let's have a conversation, because I don't know what you need. Maybe you've got all the software systems and everything you need in place. You just need some advice and help. Maybe you don't have maybe you don't even know what's available out there now, that you're working 10 times harder than what you should have otherwise. If just knowing what tools are available to you, who knows? But by me being consistent, by me having a story that's infused in my branding that goes out, it makes all of my marketing, no matter where I'm at, consistent. Number 9, it inspires customer action. How? Number 1, through loyalty and advocacy. Customers who resonate with a brand story are more likely to become advocates, promoting the brand to others because they feel connected to its value and vision. And number 2 way that it sort of inspires a customer action, there's a call to action already in the story. A strong story can inspire customers to take action, whether it's making a purchase, supporting a cause, or joining a community around the brand. And I have lived that, experienced that, and know that to be a fact. And number 10, and finally, it shows the brand's evolution. And I have lived this. The journey of growth, telling the story of the brand's evolution, including the obstacles and triumphs along the way, can demonstrate resilience, adaptability, and how the business endured, and showing that to customers. And it can also give you a level of transparency. Sharing the brand's milestones, both good and bad, fosters transparency and can showcase the growth mindset of the business. We have people in our business, and I give them nicknames like Miss Spelling Bee, which is Lori Brown out in San Antonio, California, or San Antonio, Texas, excuse me. And why did she call Miss Spelling Bee? Because up until some of these tools that help me write, I did not have the ability to spell correctly and have proper syntax at times. Now I try to run everything. I write it out and I run it through AI and some other tools. Just say, hey, is this all grammatically correct and everything before I publish? But before then, we have a character that was sort of helping me proof myself. But that's the evolution of this brand story. How I used to use it as a talking point. It's like, listen, folks, if Terry Wilson, a college dropout from Ruth, North Carolina, Joyce Wilson's boy, can write a book, do podcasting and blogging for a living, and knowing the limitations I have, then people that have had better education, a better pedigree, a better background, a better upbringing as far as educationally. I don't knock my background. It's just, I realize I don't have the degrees that other folks have and the experience that other folks have in education. But the point is this: if I can do it, most people should be able to do it. There's no excuse why someone can't get out there, put their best foot forward, and do something for themselves and make a better life for themselves. And the only reason they don't is because they allow negativity, they allow self-doubt, they allow words that have been spoken by people that they trusted that has just become an obstacle, a real nagging voice of doubt and discouragement. They've allowed those voices to get stronger in their minds than the good voices. And I'm here to give you a stronger voice. But see, my brand is this. I was flawed. I'm a flawed person. That's all I was. And it wasn't, I know some people will say, well, he's just this false modesty. No, it really wasn't. Because, hear me. I'm not apologizing for it. I'm just saying, yeah, I know I have these shortcomings. I have these flaws, but I still am able to do what I do. So what's your excuse? There's a little bit of attitude behind it. There's a little bit of like, come on, let's do this. Let's get going. I believe in you. Why don't you believe in you? And so I would get hate all the time from people that would see something I did that would be silly, that would be, not necessarily on the 10s, if you will. Could have been done better. Could have been tighter as far as graphically or, with my vocabulary and all those things. And my response was all that. And that was part of my story. So the point is, tell your story, and in your story, show your clay feet, show your shortcomings, show your faux pas, show the things that most people try to hide. Because I have found it's those things that actually builds my brand. It's not the shiny, polished looking website. It's not the over the top looking, sounding, produced whatever I produce. Now, listen, you hear my podcast. You see, I do my best to produce a good show, a quality with both quality content and also it sounds good. It's recorded well. It's produced. I want to come across as being somewhat professional. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about Terry and TerryWilson3.com and people being a little bit hesitant to, well, I don't want to put something out on the internet. Or whatever. Or I don't want to tell my story because I'm just so-and-so from such and such. Let me just encourage you, dude, girl, do it. I'm telling you, it is going, and yeah, haters going to hate. And we have a culture right now that, people like to come by and do drive-by shots. I can't tell you how many times I get snarky comments on I get hate mail every day in my email and through social media channels and all that other stuff. That's just par for the course. I don't even read it anymore because at the end of the day, I know I'm not. As a matter of fact, sometimes I say things that I know is going to irritate the fool out of people, but I know the people that are supposed to be my customers, they're supposed to do business with me, they're going to hear it and they're going to find it endearing and they're going to find it, I can trust this person because I think the same way. And that's who I'm looking for. I cannot please everybody, and neither can you. But don't allow that to be a deterrent for putting your story out there, putting you in your brand. This is what I'm about. This is why I do what I do. Let me tell you about what happened and go right into it. Let me tell you back in such and such, and this is how we developed this product or service. Or let me tell you about this over here. This is why we sell homes this way now. We present them this way. Let me tell you about this. This is why I believe in this insurance policy, because stories, 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 stories. Tell your story.
This story comes from Chapter 9 entitled, Sometimes People Get Stuck.
Sometimes in life, people get stuck at times, caught up in situations they can't quite see their way out of it. I remember one day after school when I walked into such a moment myself. As I stepped off the school bus, I heard this loud banging noise as soon as I walked through the front door of the house. And it was coming from a room somewhere just beyond the kitchen. Curious, I made my way toward the sound. When I got to the kitchen, I found my mom and grandfather standing there, shaking their heads in frustration. My grandfather was sipping on his coffee, and neither one of them looked too thrilled with whatever was happening in the other room. So, naturally, I asked him, "What's all that noise?" Without even looking up, my grandfather just pointed toward the restroom off the kitchen and said, "You'll have to go see for yourself." So I walked over to the restroom, opened the door, and there it was. Inside was this gentleman my mom had hired to move our old metal bathtub. But here's the thing. He was standing inside the tub while trying to lift it out. And his wife, bless her heart, was there too, standing on the side, cheering him on. "You almost got it," she kept yelling. I could barely keep from laughing. I quickly stepped back and shut the door before they could see me. I went right back to my grandfather, still shaking in my head in disbelief. "Why don't you tell him that won't work?" I asked. "He's literally standing in the bathtub while trying to lift it." And my grandfather, without even looking up from his coffee, just grinned a little and said, "Oh boy, we've been trying to tell him, but he won't listen." I couldn't believe it. Then why is he still trying? So I asked. My grandfather took a slow sip of his coffee, looked up at me with that familiar half smile and said, "Because, son, he's stuck on stupid.
all can get stuck sometimes and do things that later we feel stupid about. This story comes from Chapter 9 entitled, Sometimes People Get Stuck. Get unstuck today. Go to yourworthmorebook.com and get a free sample copy of You Are Worth More.